When the goblin chief dies, two strong soldiers who were there start fighting over his weapon. One goblin jumps at the other, trying to take the club, claiming he should be the new leader. They punch and bite each other while the other goblins cheer them on. Suddenly, one goblin remembers the chief left some captives alive, and they decide to get them. But they realize the guardian of the prisoners is about to return. Just then, the mysterious guardian appears, a goblin who looks different from the others, especially in the way he dresses, almost like a human. The goblins whisper about him while he walks past them. Curious about the captives, they decide to follow him. One goblin mentions that some of the strongest warriors already left, and once the fight starts, they can make their move. The guardian hears this and becomes uneasy. Suddenly, he hears someone screaming for help and rushes toward the noise. When he reaches the cave, he finds goblins attacking a young woman. She is terrified, screaming for someone to save her. The guardian, not wanting to hurt her, orders the goblins to let her go. Their leader does so, but then tells the guardian that since the chief is dead, the girl now belongs to him. He warns that if the guardian tries to take her, there will be serious trouble. Then, he orders the goblins to attack and kill the guardian. The young man is overwhelmed as the goblins ambush him. He can't believe he might die at the hands of such weak monsters, but his will to live takes over. In a desperate move, he pulls out a knife and kills one of the goblins. The others panic and run away in fear. One shouts for the leader to flee because the guardian has a weapon. Exhausted but alive, the guardian frightens his attackers. The young woman, nearly taken hostage, thanks him, but he is too weak to respond. She begs him not to die because she needs his protection. As he listens to her, memories rush in, and suddenly, a screen appears before his eyes, saying the system is starting. The guardian, now revealed to be Lin Tian, realizes he is reincarnated as a goblin with a system after being hit by a truck. However, the screen only shows basic stats and nothing useful. Thinking about the girl's words, he starts to understand this world ruled by gods, where powerful monsters exist. He realizes humans have claimed their place here through strength. But as a goblin, the weakest and filthiest creature in this world, he is at a huge disadvantage. Lin Tian checks his stats and sees they are so low that even among goblins, he could be easily defeated. Then, looking at the girl, he remembers there is a way to get stronger in this world, by creating new life. Goblins gain power through mating, which is why they kidnap girls. But Lin Tian, who was once human, finds this disgusting. Thinking about how cruel this world is, he struggles with his beliefs. Just then, the girl speaks up, saying that after spending time with him, she knows he is different. She doesn't want to live with the other goblins. She wants to stay with him. Lin Tian is once again shocked by the girl. She tells him that when the Night Order comes to rescue her, she will make sure they know he saved her so he can live in the village. Suddenly, Lin Tian gets worried, realizing the goblins are coming back to capture her. He quickly asks her to hide and gets ready to defend her. As expected, a desperate goblin arrives, screaming like it drank spoiled milk and needs a bathroom. Determined to protect the girl, Lin Tian strikes the goblin with his knife. Then he tells her the humans have arrived to rescue her, making her happy. Believing it's the Sacred Order, she runs toward them. But Lin Tian suddenly stops when he sees something shocking, a powerful human defeating many goblins with just one attack. Lin Tian is amazed to see such strength. The supposed hero, who came to rescue the girl, looks annoyed that his Sacred Order uniform got torn. Lin Tian then notices the man's impressive stats, making him question if he's really human. Excited, the girl calls him captain and runs toward him, while Lin Tian is surprised by how easily they defeated the goblins. But then, something terrifying happens. Lin Tian realizes the man isn't there to save her. Thinking fast, he grabs the girl and pushes her away from the captain, protecting her again. Confused, Lin Tian wonders why the Sacred Order came if not to rescue people. Angry Loader calls it disgraceful that a goblin dodged his attack. The girl then tells the captain that Lin Tian protected her, as she promised. Unexpectedly, Loader gets furious, thinking she's lying to make a fool of him, and decides to kill her. In shock, Lin Tian rushes to save her again. Frustrated, he tells the girl to run and shows her a safe path. Without thinking about the danger, Lin Tian charges at Loder with just a club. Suddenly, a light shines in the dark cave. Lin Tian freezes in surprise as a woman appears, asking Loder to stop. A magical shield protects Lin Tian, and behind the woman stands an army of knights. She is a powerful mage, and she tells Loder that this goblin seems different. The prisoner kneels before her, calling her holy maiden and begging for protection. Desperate, the girl pleads with the mage to save her. The holy maiden then asks Lin Tian if he understands her. Filled with hope, he recognizes her as Ifreya, the temple spokesperson, and sees this as his only chance to escape. He responds that he understands her and tells her he isn't a monster from this world. He was once human and reincarnated after an accident. Loder comments that Lin Tian seems smarter than other goblins, and Ifreya suggests he could be a gift from the Sacred Mother. Ifreya then asks Kelia if Lin Tian ever hurt her. The girl says he not only protected her, but also gave her food. As expected, the Holy Maiden decides Lin Tian is special and will be taken to the village for study before a decision is made. Smiling, she asks if he will go with her. Seeing this as his only chance, Lin Tian agrees. After Ifreya frees him from the magical shield, he feels relieved that someone will finally listen to him and prove his innocence. As they leave the cave, Ifreya orders Loder to follow. Lin Tian thanks her for saving him and promises to repay her kindness. But something unexpected happens. Out of nowhere, Loder stabs Kelia in the stomach. Lin Tian quickly turns and sees his friend being killed by the captain. Horrified, Lin Tian uses his goblin vision and sees Kelia lying lifeless on the ground. In disbelief, he falls into despair, unable to understand what just happened. The Holy Maiden gives him a dark, sarcastic smile and tells him that when they reach the village, he better repay her well. A week later, the church bell rings, calling the villagers to gather. Loder stands beside the Holy Maiden, giving a speech about how the goblins' attack has harmed their peaceful town. He tells the villagers that the little monsters used stealth and brutally killed 30 people. Angry, the crowd starts shouting that goblins are disgusting and that humans and goblins will always be enemies. Showing images of the victims, Loder claims that the Sacred Order has purified the goblins to avenge the fallen. The Holy Maiden then steps in, asking the people to continue praying to the temple. She reassures them that the temple will always protect its faithful followers, and the villagers cheer for the Knights of the Sacred Order. Then, a dark library mixed with a laboratory is revealed. The Holy Maiden smirks, saying the sermon was a success and that the villagers are fools. Ifreya comments that the villagers will now pray even harder and offer more tributes. Next, Lin Tian's fate is shown. He is imprisoned, calling out to Ifreya angrily. The Holy Maiden looks at him without sympathy. Now missing an eye and filled with rage, Lin Tian calls Ifreya a slur. She stares at him, chained to a wall covered in experiment marks, and is impressed that he is still alive. She believes this is why goblins can't be wiped out from the continent. Deciding to test a stronger poison, she injects it into Lin Tian to study the results. The boy, exhausted from endless experiments, is desperate. Remembering how the Sacred Order deceived everyone and killed Kelia, he angrily asks if this is what human justice means. Suddenly, a branch strikes his chin. Furious at his words, the Holy Maiden mocks him, saying it's ridiculous for such a weak creature to question human justice. Revealing her true nature, Ifreya calls goblins mere insects, and says even speaking to him is a favor. She casts a spell on Lin Tian, telling him to be grateful and use his body for human experiments and the Sacred Order. A magic circle appears, draining Lin Tian's energy. He is too weak to resist the torture. He blames himself for holding on to human compassion even after being reborn as a goblin, believing that humans could still be just. He remembers how after being taken to the village, Loder and Ifreya tortured him and experimented on his body, ignoring all his words. Unable to endure any more pain, Lin Tian dies at the hands of the cruel holy maiden. As he crosses over, he wishes he could try again, vowing never to trust humans and to destroy them if given a chance. Then, something unexpected happens. Lin Tian suddenly finds himself in a virtual world and wonders if he is still alive. To his shock, the Goblin life simulation system activates, asking if he wants to reincarnate. Realizing this is his personal system that only activates after death, Lin Tian is amazed. He learns that choosing no means the end, but yes will send him back a week with his current memories. Finally, he understands. This is his second chance. Overjoyed at the thought of revenge against Loder and Ephraia, Lin Tian excitedly chooses yes. The system then begins the Goblin life reboot process. Lin Tian, furious at being betrayed by humans, is determined to return and take his revenge. Along with reincarnating, the system informs him that he has been slightly strengthened. Pleased, he thinks that even a small boost is better than nothing. However, the system warns that the Sacred Order is still after him, and if he dies again, he won't be able to resurrect. Worried, Lin Tian asks what the system can do to help, and he learns that it can predict future events every 24 hours, offering different outcomes. Even better, each simulation gives him points that he can exchange for items. Excited, he immediately asks the system to begin a life simulation. The system offers 3 options for escaping the cave. First, he could warn the other goblins and fight Loder's men together for 10 points. Second, he could abandon the goblins and escape alone for 5 points. And third, he could hide and hope not to be found, though this would earn no points. Thinking carefully, Lin Tian believes fighting wouldn't work, but he decides to test all the options to earn as many points as possible. As expected, when he chooses to fight alongside the goblins, they are easily defeated by Loder, but he earns 10 points. Realizing he can't rely on the goblins for survival, he is at least happy about gaining points. Confident, he asks the system to open the exchange shop and sees many powerful weapons, though most cost too many points. Then, he notices a fast and light elven dagger that costs exactly 10 points. The weapon increases his speed by 10% and his strength by 15%, and he believes that hitting an enemy's vital point with it could be deadly. Concerned about Kellia, he asks the system why she wasn't in the simulation. The system explains that after his reincarnation, some details of the timeline changed, and in this new life, Kellia was never captured by the goblins, and now lives safely in the village. Surprised but happy, Lin Tian feels relieved that she is safe, and thinks that he has fulfilled his promise to protect her. Now, he focuses on his next goal. Analyzing his best path, Lin Tian decides to escape through the cave's exit, where the weakest guards are stationed. Outside, one guard complains about goblins, while the other tells him to be patient since it's an easy job. As Lin Tian listens, he overhears that Loder's plan is to kill all the kidnapped girls in the cave, as ordered by the Sacred Order. This confirms to Lin Tian that his revenge is justified. If they are willing to kill innocent humans, they would surely show no mercy to a goblin. Knowing he has no choice but to fight, Lin Tian prepares a trap. Imitating a girl's voice, he calls for help from inside the cave. Falling for the trick, one guard, smirking, tells the girl to come out, claiming he will take her safely back to the village. To the shock of the kind soldier, Lin Tian attacks him with his sharp dagger, his heart filled with hatred for humans. Without mercy, he strikes the guard, declaring that from now on, it will be the goblin's time for revenge. The injured soldier trembles in pain, while the other guard, unaware of what has happened, calls out, wondering why his companion is taking so long. Seeing that his plan is working, Lin Tian smirks, his determination growing stronger. Without hesitation, he rushes toward the second guard, who panics, unable to understand what is happening. Before the soldier can react, Lin Tian slaps him hard, making him fall to the ground. Moving swiftly, he pounces on the fallen man and attacks. As Lin Tian had expected, his dagger is incredibly sharp, allowing him to inflict a deep wound. The guard, now badly injured, falls in despair, believing this to be his end. Desperate, The soldier suddenly asks Lin Tian if he understands human language. Realizing that Lin Tian hesitates for a moment, the soldier pleads for mercy, saying he has a family waiting for him at home. Trying to manipulate the boy, the guard shows him a picture of his family, hoping to spark sympathy. Seeing that Lin Tian understands his words, the soldier calls him intelligent and claims that he is only following the sacred order's commands. Then, in a final attempt to trick Lin Tian, he offers him gold and young women, pretending to negotiate while secretly preparing to attack. Thinking Lin Tian is distracted, the soldier suddenly lunges at him, calling him a foolish beast. But to his shock, Lin Tian is faster. Before the guard can land a blow, Lin Tian swiftly counters with his dagger, taking down the treacherous man before he has a chance to fight back. Now, the first stage of Lin Tian's revenge has begun, and he is more determined than ever to use this second chance to strike back against the humans who betrayed him. Feeling confident that he is on the right path, Lin Tian suddenly hears Loder's voice nearby. Realizing the captain might be searching for him, Lin Tian quickly puts his next plan into action. He takes the fallen soldier's clothes as a disguise. Holding the uniform in his hands, he leaves the area, already thinking about his future confrontation with Loder and Ephraia. Meanwhile, Loder and Ephraia arrive at the scene where the guards were defeated. Loder, surprised, wonders if the goblins could have really taken down his men. Ephraia, excited by the possibility, suggests that if a goblin did this, it might be a mutant. Loder, angered by the idea, says that if such information spreads in the village, it could have serious consequences. Furious, he stomps on the fallen soldier, calling him useless for failing to defeat a single goblin. Ephraia, on the other hand, becomes thrilled by the thought of capturing a unique goblin, imagining the fun she could have experimenting on it. Her dark expression reveals how much she enjoys the idea. With an unsettling grin, she says that if they manage to catch this strange little monster, she will have a great time with it. Meanwhile, deep in the forest, Lin Tian manages to escape safely. He finally feels relieved that his plan is working, and that he has made it out of the cave. While eating, he reflects on his next steps. He declares that he will deal with his enemies in the goblin way, using ferocity to grow stronger and expand his influence. His eyes darken with rage, and he vows that in this new life, he will make every man beg for death and every woman desire him, crying at his feet. Seeing the bushes move, Lin Tian wonders if Loder and his group are still chasing him. Just then, a hooded figure steps out from behind the bushes. Acting fast, Lin Tian attacks to prevent the intruder from striking first. The startled figure stumbles over a rock, and to Lin Tian's shock, it turns out to be a goblin. He can't believe what he is seeing. His surprise grows even more when he realizes that this goblin can talk and express itself like him. Still cautious, Lin Tian keeps his guard up since the goblin was hiding. Then, something even stranger catches his attention. This goblin has feminine features. This confuses him, because goblins are only male and can only reproduce with other species. Scared, the female goblin begs Lin Tian not to hurt her, explaining that she was just getting water, but Lin Tian finds her words suspicious. He wonders how a goblin could speak in full sentences. Checking her status, he discovers that if a male goblin mates with a female of the same species, he will become a goblin god. Shocked, Lin Tian realizes that mating with her could be his chance to become strong enough to defeat his enemies. Desperate, the girl explains that her boss sent her for water, and that if she doesn't return, she will be beaten to death. She then stops crying in surprise when she hears Lin Tian calmly talking to her, realizing he is also a goblin. Lin Tian warns her that making noise could attract Loder's group. Astonished, the girl asks if he can really talk like her, and Lin Tian confirms that he can. He then remembers that most goblins don't speak properly, which is why she doesn't talk much to her tribe. Grateful, she tells Lin Tian that he is kind, unlike the other goblins, who only insult and hit her. She then asks if he wants to come with her to the village. Seeing another opportunity to get stronger, Lin Tian gets excited and asks if there really is a goblin tribe nearby. However, he stays cautious, unsure if Loder's group is still following him. Prioritizing his safety, he knows it may not be the best time, but wanting to grow stronger and continue his revenge, he agrees to go with her. Lin Tian, focused on his goal, is also thinking about where to find subordinates and asks her to take him to the tribe. Soon, they reach the village, where curious goblins gather to watch the newcomer. Seeing Lin Tian dressed in human clothes, the goblins mock him, calling him a strange creature. Instead of getting angry, Lin Tian sees this as a good chance to begin his plans. Wanting to gain their trust, he announces that he is here to join them and asks to meet their leader. The goblins laugh, telling him that the chief is not someone he can just meet any time. Frustrated, Lin Tian's new friend shouts at them, saying he isn't a bad person and that they should not act so rudely. Just then, a powerful voice asks why the whole tribe is making so much noise. Lin Tian gets excited, knowing the goblin chief has finally appeared. The leader arrives, furious, demanding to know who is causing the disturbance. Quickly, Lin Tian checks the chief's stats, and to his surprise, he discovers that the tribe has a high-level goblin as its leader. The chief asks the girl if she brought the stranger, and she explains that Lin Tian has nowhere else to go, so she brought him to the village. The chief seems pleased at first, but then to her horror, he orders the goblins to kill and eat Lin Tian. As the goblins rush toward him, Lin Tian quickly draws his dagger, showing it to the chief and the others. He tells them that he knows how to make weapons like this, and that if they let him join the tribe, he can make them stronger. Interested, the chief stops the attack and approaches Lin Tian, eager to gain power. He asks what kinds of weapons Lin Tian can create. Lin Tian tells him that if they find ore, he can make simple iron weapons, and with time, he could craft even stronger ones. To convince the chief, Lin Tian says that with these weapons, they could defeat monsters and even humans. The goblins get excited, cheering that they will have plenty of meat and won't have to hide in the forest anymore. They even joke about preferring fresh elves for their meals. Seeing the potential, the chief gives Lin Tian 3 days to find iron ore and make weapons. If he fails, he will be killed. Pointing to the girl, the chief declares that she will go with him and will suffer the same fate if Lin Tian fails. After giving his orders, the chief leaves. Lin Tian hugs the girl, calling the chief cruel for not even sparing his own people. He realizes he must create weapons to buy time and grow stronger. Soon, Lin Tian sets off with the girl and some goblins to search for iron ore. After walking for a long time, the girl, exhausted, asks them to stop and rest. Annoyed, one of the goblins kicks her, calling her ugly and lazy. Furious, the other goblins start hitting her too, laughing and threatening to finish her off if she doesn't find ore. Suddenly, Lin Tian throws a rock at one of the goblins attacking her. Defending his new friend, he reminds them that they are here to find iron ore, not to fight. Angry, Lin Tian warns them that if they want to live, they must start listening to him. Otherwise, his dagger will end them. Fearful of Lin Tian's threat, the goblins step away from the girl, muttering that once he finishes making the weapons, the chief will not spare him. Lin Tian feels uneasy, knowing they are right. Even if he succeeds in 3 days, it's only a matter of time before the chief decides to get rid of him. Lin Tian looks at the girl and remembers that if a male goblin has children with a female of the same species, he will become a legendary divine goblin. Seeing his new friend trembling with fear, he asks her not to cry and calls her Yue. Wanting to calm her down, he gently holds her face and asks if she wants to stay with him. He promises that if she accepts, he will protect her, give her food, and provide a warm place to live where she will no longer be hurt. Determined to grow stronger, Lin Tian tells Yue that he always keeps his promises, but they are too weak to fight alone, so he asks her to help him become stronger. Excited at the thought of no longer being mistreated, Yue asks how they can improve. Lin Tian explains that if she agrees to have children with him, It will make him stronger, and he will fulfill his promise to protect her. Confused and embarrassed, Yu admits she has never been with a male before. Lin Tian reassures her, saying she doesn't need to worry. He will take care of everything. Then, something unexpected happens. Lin Tian suddenly kisses Yue and gently holds her hands, wanting to begin an intimate moment. Willing to help him, Yue begs Lin Tian to let her have his babies. As they try, the system informs Lin Tian that they will have 7 children, increasing his level limit. He also gains plus 9 attack, while 100 health, and plus 10 defense. After the enhancements, Lin Tian's body changes completely. Checking his stats, he realizes he has leveled up and grown stronger. Now more muscular, he is confident they have a better chance of defeating the Goblin Priest. Since his old clothes no longer fit, he removes them. Comforting Yue, Lin Tian tells her she belongs to him now, and that he will always protect her, while she looks at him lovingly and calls him gentle. Suddenly, they hear goblins screaming for help while searching for iron ore. A massive magic wolf appears, attacking one of the goblins. Lin Tian notices that the goblins have found iron ore, but he is also worried because they are in danger. Keeping his promise to protect Yue, he tells her to wait while he deals with the wolf. The beast is about to devour a goblin, but Lin Tian rushes toward it. With great agility and strength, he attacks the wolf's neck with his sharp dagger, saving the goblin holding the ore. The little monster stops and looks at him in shock. With just one powerful strike, Lin Tian defeats the wolf. After winning, he absorbs the beast's magic power and congratulates the goblin for finding the ore. Checking the material, Lin Tian sees that it is good quality and orders the goblins to gather more. He then tells them that once they return, they will forge the weapons. After gathering all the iron ore they need, Lin Tian and the goblins return to the village. When they arrive, the goblins are amazed to see that Lin Tian has really made a strong weapon. To prove its power, Lin Tian demonstrates how his weapon can even defeat beasts. Then, he presents a spear made from the iron ore to the chief and the goblins. One of the goblins, now looking different and stronger after the hunt, excitedly tells the tribe that he has seen Lin Tian defeat a magic wolf and save them. Wanting to gain the goblins' trust, Lin Tian raises the spear and asks if they want powerful weapons like that. All the goblins cheer, saying they do. At that moment, the tribe's chief appears, clearly concerned about Lin Tian's success. Trying to take control, the leader strikes his staff on the ground and admits that Lin Tian has not lied. The chief praises him for truly being able to make iron weapons, but quickly tries to make things difficult for him. The leader tells Lin Tian that staying in the tribe will not be easy, and that he has to make 50 more spears in just 2 days. The goblins grumble, saying the chief is acting just like humans by making such unreasonable demands. Lin Tian, however, is pleased to see that his plan to gain the goblins' trust is working. To the leader's surprise, Lin Tian manages to make and deliver all 50 spears within the deadline. The goblins celebrate his success, and even the chief, seemingly happy, praises him again. The priest then declares that everyone will eat meat to celebrate Lin Tian's entry into the tribe, making the goblins ecstatic. Everything is going according to Lin Tian's plan, and the goblins are thrilled about having plenty of meat. At that moment, Yue hands Lin Tian a piece of roasted meat, telling him it is specially for him and is an offering from the priest himself. Lin Tian accepts it and starts eating. However, after a few bites, he suddenly feels unwell. Yue, worried, asks if he is okay as he begins choking. The tribe's chief quickly approaches them, terrifying the girl. The leader calls Lin Tian stupid for trusting him, saying he has noticed Lin Tian is ambitious and has to be stopped. Holding Yue's head, the chief assumes Lin Tian is too weak to protect her. The priest then asks Lin Tian if he really cares about the girl. Seeing Lin Tian's reaction, the leader smirks and says he will enjoy watching her die, calling her a traitor. Determined to kill Yue to teach Lin Tian a lesson, the chief says he wants to crush Lin Tian's pride. It seems like the end for Lin Tian, as he is poisoned and powerless. However, to everyone's shock, Lin Tian suddenly rises and strikes the chief's arm, saving Yue. The leader, once so confident, now looks terrified, unable to understand how Lin Tian has done that despite being poisoned. Mocking him, Lin Tian calls the chief a fool for falling into his trap. He reveals that he has known about the poison all along and has only pretended to be weak to trick him. Realizing he has been deceived, the furious chief, now missing an arm, charges at Lin Tian, determined to finish him off. But Lin Tian is prepared. With great speed, he dodges the attack and delivers another powerful strike. The once mighty leader is now helpless. The goblins watch in shock as Lin Tian, with his sharp dagger, prepares to end the tyrant's reign. As the old goblin attacks again, Lin Tian dodges and counters, cutting off the leader's head. With that, the cruel reign of the goblin chief comes to an end. The little monsters, witnessing their leader's decapitation, panic, unsure of what will happen next. Lin Tian then steps forward, making an important declaration. He tells the goblins that from now on, he will be their new chief. He promises to lead them in attacking elves and humans, ensuring they will always have meat. Hearing this, the goblins become ecstatic and cheer for their new leader. To solidify his rule, Lin Tian points at the dead chief's body and offers it as a feast for the goblins. The hungry creatures, drooling, quickly run toward the corpse. In their desperation and excitement, they devour the former leader without hesitation. As Lin Tian watches, he declares that conquering the goblin tribe is just the beginning of his revenge. His next step will be to make the elves breed a stronger generation for his tribe. However, something hidden in the bushes is silently observing them. A beautiful elf, spying from the forest, is shocked by everything she has just witnessed. In a strange building, in the middle of the forest, a girl happily welcomes back her princess, revealing that the spy is actually an elven princess. The girl tells the princess to wait since the matriarch is busy, but the young princess insists she has an urgent report. Kasana then opens the door to her mother's chambers, announcing important news about the eastern magical forest, but she is met with an unexpected sight. Inside, she sees the queen being flirted with by several male elves. Embarrassed by her mother's behavior while danger is near, Kasana hesitates, but before she can leave, the queen asks what was so urgent. Once again, Kasana explains that she has an important report about the goblin tribe in the forest. The queen, acting arrogantly, questions why she should worry about weak and filthy goblins. Kasana then shares that she found a large black bear devoured in the magical forest and doesn't believe the goblins could have done it. She also recalls seeing the goblin tribe's former leader being defeated by a mysterious young man a few days ago, and wonders if it's connected. The queen, however, only seems interested in the mention of a new village leader. Without much concern, she orders Kasana to gather elf soldiers and prepare an operation to deal with the potential threat, instructing her not to kill all the goblins at once. While stroking a male elf, the beautiful and seductive queen reminds her daughter that goblin hearts are useful for making potions. Kasana, still embarrassed, replies that she understands why they need to keep some goblins alive. Amused, the queen tells her daughter that she has worked hard lately and offers to reward her with an elf for her pleasure, or more, if she prefers. Extremely embarrassed by her mother's words, Kasana quickly leaves, saying she will investigate at night and report back if she finds anything. Meanwhile, in the goblin tribe, Lin Tian and his soldiers prepare for their attack. Using branches, they create a map and inform Lin Tian that the Forest of 1,000 Wonders has around 30 tree houses. Pleased, Lin Tian tells his best soldier that when they conquer the elves, he will be rewarded with 2 elf girls, making the goblin excited. Eager for the promised reward, Lin Tian's right-hand man orders the others to prepare their weapons. The new leader then starts executing his attack strategies. Based on the given information, Lin Tian calculates that each treehouse has 2 elves, with a total of 70 elves, including 10 in the mines. Wanting to strengthen his tribe, Lin Tian announces that they will now hunt in the magical forest, making the goblins cheer with excitement. This will allow Lin Tian to grow stronger and gain more skills, while the goblins also become more powerful through group hunts. Tirelessly, Lin Tian and the goblins hunt magical monsters, gathering different abilities and increasing their strength. The goblins use teamwork to capture larger beasts, helping the whole tribe level up. Thanks to their devouring ability, the tribe gains many new powers, reaching level 18 with a total strength of 250. Lin Tian carefully analyzes the situation and estimates that each elf has a strength of about 200. With this, he determines that the goblin tribe has already surpassed the elves in overall power. However, knowing they are entering enemy territory, Lin Tian decides to use the system to simulate an attack and study the results. When the simulation begins, Lin Tian confidently leads his strengthened goblin army to attack the elves, but due to his overconfidence, the goblins walk straight into an ambush and are all captured. In the simulation, Lin Tian himself is taken by the elven matriarch and hanged in the Forest of 1,000 Wonders as a warning to the goblins. The system then summarizes that Lin Tian thought he was in control, but in reality, he had been falling into his enemy's trap the entire time. Shocked, Lin Tian cannot believe the outcome and realizes the goblin tribe is constantly being watched, allowing the elves to plan their ambushes. Thinking quickly, he orders his soldiers to use their sharp hearing and sense of smell to search for any spies. Soon after, Lin Tian detects something hiding in the forest using his magical power and spots the spy behind a tree. Unaware that she has been discovered, the princess and her soldiers quickly retreat, trying to report back to the matriarch. Suddenly, several glowing arrows shoot toward them. To everyone's surprise, one arrow strikes the princess directly in the buttocks. Kasana screams in shock, unable to believe she has been hit. Soon after, she collapses to the ground. Realizing that she is paralyzed from the arrow's effect, the princess panics, as do her soldiers. The goblins cheer for Lin Tian, excited that he managed to hit an elf, while Lin Tian, amused, wonders if the poison is making the prisoner's body behave strangely. Sarcastically, he tells the princess that he didn't expect capturing them to be this easy. Pleased that his plan is going even better than expected, Lin Tian smirks and tells Kasana that they arrived at just the right time. Then, the new goblin leader orders all the elf prisoners to be brought back to the tribe.